Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for doing the interview with me.
Of course. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so glad you reached out. This is gonna be awesome.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do
Uh,
it.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Like your name, where you're from, your background, and who you play for.
I'm McKenna Davis. I'm from upstate New York, specifically Canandaigua, New York. I play attack and I'm a senior at Boston College.
What lacrosse stick are you using right now, and why do you like it?
I have the Gate Apex
Mhm.
with the composite shaft. I love Gate and I go to them for all my gear. They're the best company on the market right now. So anything Gate. The Apex is great. And I think they have a really good hold on the stick. So I have the ability to feed, fake feed, pass, shoot the ball. And it's all thanks to the stringing and like the way that the head is formed. So I 100% recommend anyone to use Gate Apex.
Do you like a long stick or a short shaft?
I prefer the short shaft. My stick is about 35.5 inches long, and I think it's the legal limit is 35. So I have another half an inch. But yeah, my stick is 35.5 inches long.
Why do you like it so short?
When it's shorter, I can keep the stick right in my sphere, like right in by my hip without it being long, so like the defenders can't really check it. And it just makes it so much easier to dodge and you have so much better stick protection and stick control. And you can do everything you can with a long stick, but just with so much more confidence and poise because of the stick handling ability.
I heard that like the long stick, like it's more powerful for shots. Is it the same with short sticks?
It's the same. It's all about the strength of the player. The length of the stick has no correlation with that. It's about how you are as a player.
Did you play any other sports growing up?
Growing up, I played soccer and basketball. I was terrible at soccer. But my mom was like a Division 1 soccer star, so I felt the need to keep playing. But I played basketball too. I was a point guard and not great, but used my athleticism and I was more of a defensive player in basketball, but I really liked playing basketball growing up.
When did you first start playing lacrosse and what got you into the sport?
I don't remember the exact age I started playing, but I remember like being very, very little, having like a stick in my hand. So whenever people ask, I usually say like 2 years old. Like I've had a stick in my hand since I can remember. It's been a huge part of my life. My dad, he was the one who gave me my first lacrosse stick, and he has been a huge influence on my career in the sport, and he has been like the whole reason I've kept playing all these years.
Who was your biggest inspiration or role model when you were learning the game of lacrosse?
I have two. So obviously like, my dad's been a huge influence on me and like how I play the game. And he's like taught me so much. He's been my coach since day one. So he is someone I've always looked up to and aspired to play like. Aside from my dad, I loved watching Kayla Trainer growing up. She is so creative and she has such great stick work. So she was someone I would drive to Syracuse all the time and go watch her games. She was a phenomenal person to watch and learn from growing up.
What was your biggest challenge as a young player and how did you overcome it?
I had a lot of challenges growing up, just like around the sport and like figuring out if this is what I wanted to do and give it 110%. I think when you're little, there's so many different like options that you can do. Like obviously, like you asked, but with other sports I played, like I could have given 110% to basketball and I could have maybe been an all-star basketball player. So when I was little, trying to figure out which sport I was the best at or which one I loved the most and that I would be the most successful in, my dad told me like from the get-go like I would have the most success if I stayed with lacrosse, but he will support me if I want to go be a Division 1 soccer player. So deciding what I wanted to do at an early age because you have to really buy into that thought process from the get-go. So that was tough and challenging trying to figure out if I really wanted to give it all to my sport from such a young start, but it has been the greatest decision I've ever made.
Can you share a moment when you realized you wanted to play lacrosse in college?
I remember my dad was coaching for MCC and they had won the national, like the D3 or yeah, the D3 national championship. They won some national championship. And my dad told me it was the greatest day of his life was winning a national championship. And he had won one back in college too. But watching him win by coaching the national championship and like me watching that was like, oh my gosh, this is so surreal and it's such an amazing moment. And my dad had always said, I want you to feel the same exact way because it's the greatest feeling in the world. So I don't remember what grade I was in, but I remember being in around like middle school. And that's when I was like, you know what, like this is amazing. And like my dad has always been by my side, so I trust whatever he says. And if he was like, it was the best day and I want you to feel the same way, like that's exactly what I wanted to do with my life.
When you won the championship, that was amazing. It was a really good game to watch.
It was so fun. It was the greatest day of my life.
What was the recruiting process like for you? Was it stressful, exciting, or both?
It was definitely both. The recruiting process is a lot. And my situation was a little different just because think about it now, like there's a lot of like there was the whole COVID thing that came right after me. So a lot of the girls who went through the recruiting process didn't have like the same experience that I did. And also knew like a lot of girls on the opposite end who were older than me who had committed in eighth grade or like freshman year. And when I was in eighth grade, I had the opportunity to commit to like different schools. And I was like, no, let the rule pass. I'm going to take my time with this process when my junior year comes, which was so great because like having the time to develop and visit schools is so smart.
Mhm.
So on September 1st, you get so many phone calls, so many emails. That was so overwhelming. Trying to figure out who do I email back first? Who am I calling first? Who do I answer? Like, how do I say, like, how do you say what? And I had written out notes for everything and I had written down notes for every conversation and every coach. But like after that, going on visits was so fun. It was really cool. I had to within the first 3 days, I had to limit the 70 schools that had reached out to me down to five because you only get five official visits. So going through all of those schools and then only picking five to like fully commit to was very difficult. And then obviously like the five that I had looked at were all great schools. And then I started my visitation process and my first school I visited was BC and it was like that Friday after September 1st. It was my first visit. It was amazing and I loved it. And it was so exciting on the visits, meeting the players, meeting the team, seeing the culture, seeing the campus. That part was always so exciting.
Was Boston College your first choice?
Actually, that's a funny story. So BC was always my little sister Hannah's like favorite dream school. Like that's where she wanted to go.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like at the top of my list. It was just like there, and I was like, it's a great option. And I remember getting a text from Kayla Trainer and then follow-up text from Acacia. And I was just like in awe. The way that those coaches like speak and talk about like their program was so like it was legitimately life-changing because I was just in awe over like a text message. I was like, these people sound amazing. And like I said earlier, like Kayla Turner was my idol growing up. So getting a text from her was really a really like surreal moment for me as well. So they were awesome. But as soon as they were on my radar, they like immediately became number one. And then that following week, like on my visit, they had consistently stayed number one after every other visit. Every other time I'd find myself going back and being like, but like BC has this, or like I would compare the two just because BC was my first one and I felt instantly in love with that place.
What advice would you give to players about getting noticed by college coaches?
I think playing is really, really important and playing competitively. And, you know, showcases are great. You got to find the right ones. A lot of them are big money grab events that are just like trying to get you to come and like they're say like you're gonna get recruited, but like the tournaments that like your club teams are gonna take you to, you're going to be set up for success because there's going to be college coaches there. Showcases are different because everyone wants the ball and everyone wants to go to the net. But being able to play competitively at tournaments in games, like I've watched my coaches go through the recruiting process and they won't really necessarily watch highlights, but they'll watch your game film and they'll see what you're doing the entire game. Because just because you have a great highlight reel, what are you doing in the ride? Is your ride in your highlight? Or like what are you doing off ball? You're not putting your off ball work in your highlight reel. So any time that you can play competitively in a full game 110% like giving it your all, those are going to be the best times to get recruited. And I think each coach obviously like, looks for something different, but the best piece of advice I ever received from one of my coaches was work hard, ride, get the ball back, and be a team player. Because coaches will see you setting up teammates and they will see like how well that translates to winning. So I think that's a really like key thing that people don't really understand. And that piece of advice like was so helpful to me and it really resonated with me in my recruiting and like watching and filming process.
What's one skill or drill that helped you improve the most as a lacrosse player?
Wall ball, so simple. I don't have a routine or anything, but hitting the wall like 15, 20 minutes a day, you don't have to be out there for an hour and you don't have to do anything fancy at all. It's just having that stick in your hand. Oh my God, you have a dog. Sorry, I'm so distracted. Look at the dog in the background. It's so cute. Oh, sorry, so distracted. Yes, wall ball. So obviously like stick work is so important. I think that's like the foundation of the game is stick work. So you can go out and you can do like fancy footwork and fun stuff, and that's great. And I do that all the time. But the thing that's been most helpful to me is just getting on the wall for like a solid intentional 15, 20 minutes a day, every other day is really helpful and it's really beneficial.
Do you think like having a wall ball routine like set helps you, or can you just do anything with like both hands and that would make you a better player?
I think having a routine is fun. I don't like to stick to the exact same thing. I like to mix it up and just like keep it loose and play around. And if I do something I like if it's a B2B pass, like I'll just keep doing that until I find something else to do. And I think routines are great if you find one that works for you. But it's honestly just about keeping the stick in your hand and like getting the ball moving. It's really not about like it's not about getting too fancy. It's just sticking to the basics and working on that.
What does a typical day in your life as a D1 athlete look like? How do you manage your time?
So in the fall and the spring at BC, it's different because in the fall we will practice in the morning and then we can take classes in the afternoon.
Mhm.
But right now, because we're in season in the spring, we'll have classes in the morning. So I have classes Monday through Thursday. I have no classes on Friday. And then after class, I will get lunch super quick, run to the dining hall, and then I will go do pre-practice treatment, which is from so our practice block is 12 to 5. And in that practice block, like the 12 to 1 is your treatment and your fueling. So that's when you can eat. And that's when like I'll go do PT with my trainers, I'll go stretch, all that stuff, just getting me ready for practice. And then sometimes involved in that is there's going to be meetings like within your unit. So sometimes there's an attacking meeting, a midi meeting, an upperclassmen meeting, like coaches meeting, like film, scouting. We play Loyola in 2 weeks. So we have a scout meeting tomorrow before practice, and that's going to be at 1. And then we'll practice from like 2 to 4 and then lift from 4 to 5. If that makes sense. It can be a lot and it does change day by day, but for the most part, it's like you're in there 12 to 1, you're eating, you're getting ready for practice. 1 to 2-ish is going to be like meetings, film, extra work, or even like scout work or like extra shooting, whatever. And then that's going to be practice. And then we lift on Tuesdays and Thursdays after.
What's one thing about playing college lacrosse that surprised you?
That surprised me. There was a lot, honestly. It's a very different game from high school. So, like, getting used to the pace and the play and the physicality, I was very overwhelmed in my first practice, and we do a lot of 1v1s, a lot of physical work. So, being a freshman coming in, I my biggest thing was I just want to learn and observe, and I think it was very helpful just to kind of take a step back mentally and be like, what is going on? Because it can be so overwhelming. But like the physicality of the game is huge. It changes. I mean, like all of our attackers, we always have bruises on our arms, and it just goes from like working hard. And another thing that was huge was the goalies are so incredible. The first 3 weeks my freshman year, I did not score a goal. I physically could not score on Rachel Hall. I was like, this is so difficult. Like she's really good. It's really hard. It's like the shooting adjustment is major, and I didn't really think too much of that, but that was a big one, was fixing my shooting and learning how to shoot hard and be more deceptive. That was a huge game changer for me.